watching UNO with Dr. Ambrish Saxena.
Hello students, today is Monday 21st of October 2019. Today assembly elections are taking place in the states of Haryana and Maharashtra. Now let me tell you some important facts about these elections and the issues related to electoral reforms. The polling has started this morning at 7 a.m. and it will go on till 5 or 6 p.m. in different constituencies. Now how this time is decided and till what time the canvassing is allowed. The canvassing has to finish approximately 36 hours before the starting of the poll. If we refer to the Representation of Peoples Act 1951 and the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, all such issues are decided as per the provisions laid down there. But then there are certain ambiguities, like the canvassing will finish 36 hours before, but there is no such rule applicable on the political parties. The rules are applicable only on the candidates. That is how many political parties in the last election, they published advertisement in newspapers on the day of polling. Another problem is that the rules can be applicable on the mainstream media, but how to enforce these rules on the digital media, wherein promotion and publicity keeps on happening even on the day of polling. Polling is taking place in Haryana and Maharashtra today, that is on 21st, in one go, in one phase, whereas you would have seen that in the last election the polling happened in 7 phases. So it can happen in elections where it is happening at the national canvas. Now in Haryana there is just one house, that is Vidhan Sabha or Legislative Assembly. In Maharashtra there are 2 houses, Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council, which is also called Vidhan Parishad. This is a body wherein indirect elections take place, and as per Article 168 of Indian Constitution, there are 8 states which have bicameral legislature. Otherwise, mostly there is one house only. The state of Madhya Pradesh has recently moved to set up one more house. The assembly there has passed a resolution which is now to be sent to the governor for his assent. Then it will be sent to the central government for its approval. If we look into the number of seats which are there in these 2 states which are going to poll. In Haryana there are 90 seats, whereas in the state of Maharashtra there are 288 seats. In Maharashtra there is 1 seat which is of nominated members. So if we include that the number of seats reach to 289 seats. In Haryana there are 17 seats reserved for scheduled caste. In Maharashtra 29 seats are reserved for scheduled caste and 25 seats are reserved for scheduled tribe. Now how this reservation is done? If we refer to Article 330 to 332 of Indian Constitution, there is a provision for reservation. But the number of seats to be reserved is decided based on the population of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe in that state. The decision is taken by the Election Commission in consultation with the central government and as per the directive from Parliament. Now if we look into this aspect as to how many seats will be there in assembly in a particular state, this all depends as to how the delimitation has been done. This whole delimitation process, as per Article 82 of the Constitution, this has to take place after every census. So census happened the last time in 2011 and before that in 2001. So after 2001 election, the Delimitation Commission was set up by Parliament through an act in 2002, and accordingly the delimitation of Lok Sabha seats and Vidhan Sabha seats in all the constituencies happened, and in that act this provision was also laid down that the next delimitation will happen after 2026. This means the next census is going to happen in 2031. This means the delimitation process will now happen only in 2032. Now coming to another story about economic conditions in China. There is a slowdown reported in China, and if we refer to the last quarterly figures, that is July to September, the GDP of China has been recorded at 6%. The forecast earlier was for the entire financial year 2019-2020 was 6.1, and earlier the estimate was made that in this year the GDP figures will remain in the bracket of 6 to 6.5. So it's almost at the bottom of that assessment. These GDP figures are at the lowest of last 27 years. In the last financial year, these GDP figures in China were at 6.6%. Now, what are the reasons behind? One major reason behind is the trade war that is happening between China and the United States. Another reason is that there is less demand being generated in China. And what are the implications? The implication is that the economy of India and other countries of the world is going to be affected by this slowdown. Why? Because China is considered the key driver of the global economy. So anything adverse happening in China will make an impact on the entire world. And if we look into another figures, the import figures of China, that has come down to the lowest level for the last 5 months. This means if the export of China is getting affected, the import is also getting affected. Now, if we look into the comparison between China and India, in India also almost the same kind of conditions are happening. We are almost 6% of GDP as per the latest figures, and we are also facing the problem of reduction in demand and less investment. China is doing almost the same things that government India has been doing, that is cut in the tax rates and also cut in the interest rate of the banks so that more loans are available. China is also trying to push for investment and also to give an spurt to the domestic consumption. India is also fighting with the same problem to give a push to the demand. Now, there are some good news, some bad news. Some good news is that an agreement is going to happen between China and the US as far as their trade tussle or trade war is concerned. The 13th round of talks between US and China concluded on 18th of October, and now the concerned officials of both the countries are working to get the agreement signed. So this is certainly a good thing for the world economy, but there is a bad thing also. US is now entangled in a trade war with European Union and has increased the tariffs on many European items which are reaching the US. This can further aggravate the problem in the world and can hit the world economy adversely. That is all in today's edition.